Did you ever play Magic the Gathering? Yeah. Totally dress up as Lily. That might be
Love this thing called. Singing Bowl has a lot to say. Please stand in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit, number 347 in your gray hymnal. Good to see everybody. Thank you for gathering. Yes, mutual thanks. So welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Hillsborough, where we constantly strive to be an open and welcoming congregation to all who seek community and we don't require that we all adhere to one specific creed or common belief or ritualistic practice, but rather we are a covenant community committed to loving and supporting each other in our individual lifelong quest for truth and meaning in matters of our personal faith. So whoever you are, member, guest, or friend, and for whatever reason or purpose, guided either in person or on our online venue, My name's Linda Seligman, and I'm the worship coordinator for today's service. I want to thank everyone who has made this worship experience possible. I'll start by thanking our very gifted musical director, Aviva Enoch. Yeah, she's a rock. Special thanks to AJ Mayhew for publishing our order of service. Really want to thank her for that. And also to thank AC for making sure that he's here every Sunday, smiling and giving us our orders of service. So I appreciate that too. Distributing our, and we have our listening ear today, who is Jerry Morris. See, Jerry, I know I saw you. There you are. Okay, there's Jerry. And it is my great pleasure to introduce my friend, Reverend Henley Levi Holder Brown, who has spoken before here at UUCH back in May. They'll talk about courage with an emphasis on National Coming Out Day. Henley's a chaplain resident at the UNC Medical Center in Chapel Hill and was the ministry administrator at Jubilee Baptist Church in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I know him from doing internship chaplaincy at Hillsborough Hospital. We became good buddies. They graduated with their MDiv from Iliff School of Theology, where they were ordained at Jubilee Baptist Church. Henley lives in Durham with their wife, Amy, and Black Lab Shadow. They enjoy studying and writing about queer theology. They're passionate about liberation theology and believe in creating a world where everyone is included and celebrated for who they are. In their spare time, you can find them watching Star Trek Discovery, reading, gardening, playing music, or creating Legos creations. They make some pretty amazing things. So, before we create our time for worship, let us take a moment to share any announcements. Anybody have any announcements?
I'm Patty O'Connor, and I'm a member of the fellowship team. And all of you have, for Sunday upon Sunday, enjoyed coffee hour after the service. And it's a wonderful way for us to gather and connect. And sometimes it's all we see of each other during the week. So we want to continue that. But it doesn't happen by magic. You know, the coffee doesn't make itself. The goodies don't appear. And one of our longtime coffee makers and goodie providers is not with us. So, that said, Nancy has gloriously jumped in and got the coffee going this morning, and goodies are out. But we need some volunteers. It can't be on one person's shoulders all the time. We want to continue the tradition because it is a great way to connect with each other and fun. So the fellowship team is asking for some volunteers, and we want to just make out a calendar. It can be one person. It's fine with 2 people. It's fine with people contributing baked goods. However we can make it happen. It might be a little bumpy to start with, but we need to get something going that's a routine for us so that we can count on every Sunday having coffee and some kind of snack afterwards. That said, I'm going to have a piece of paper with me after the service with some dates on it. And, we'll see what happens, okay? Gabby, Nancy's provided coffee and goodies this week. Gabby has signed up somewhere. I will do a week this month, and that might take care of most of October, but cold weather's coming up, but we still need coffee and snacks. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, y'all. I'm Jackson Fall. 2 things I want to tell you about with UU the Vote. One is we're having postcards and pizza following service today. If you want to take a slice of pizza and take some postcards home with you, that's fine too. Very important elections coming up. And really a personalized postcard makes a big difference. A friend of mine who's running in a very tight race in Alamance County said that he saw someone walking in to a polling station holding a postcard. He had never voted before. Said, if somebody took time to write this to me, it means a lot. Second thing I wanted to mention, Carolina Jews for Justice is doing phone banking. And I know, like, for me, that's like of the different things, knocking on doors, postcards, calling somebody on the phone, that's the worst. However, I will say they've got this really nice Zoom call organized on Thursdays, every Thursday through the beginning of November 5th. And you can sign up if you can participate, great. It's fun, everybody talks, they guide you through it. A sample of one of the, and we made 2,600 calls this past Thursday, just a group of about 20 people. One story I'd just like to quickly share. I talked to this woman and I said, is this Darius? And I knew it wasn't because it sounded like an old lady. And she said, no, he ain't here. But what I said, this is Jackson, and we're just calling to see if you're on to vote. Oh, I'm going to tell him this is his first time ever, and I'm going to make sure he gets there. So it's just little things like that make it worthwhile. I think y'all would enjoy it. Hope to see you after church.
I'm Peg Wolf, and as most of you know, I'm a quilter. I'm a member of Durham Orange Quilters Guild, and we are having our show for the first time in a few years because of the pandemic. It's in 2 weeks in Mebane. So I'm going to put the poster on the table on the altar here and then put it up in the hall if anybody's interested.
Where, Kevin? We should organize an outing.
They say
At the community center?
the old rec center
Oh, I know where that
on
is.
Jackson Street, 209 West Jackson. It's on the poster here.
I know where that is.
Okay.
I would love to.
I have a very happy announcement. Dave Belt has volunteered with some enthusiasm to lead the Buildings and Grounds team. So he would be in touch.
Hi, I'm Kim Freeman. We found some keys in the parking lot. Please let us know if they're yours.
Oh, thank you. Those are good.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Wow.
Great fun.
Good morning, I'm Jerry Morris, and if you have a need to talk to somebody, I'll be available today. I'll be outside at the hut and be happy to talk with you.
Do we have anybody else? Okay. Well, one thing I'd like you to do is make sure you do a cell phone check and make sure it's not on loud. That's always annoying when they go off, so just make sure you do that. And you probably already know this, but try to keep your masks on, just to be on the safe side. And that we'll be enjoying our coffee in the back room today. And you're also welcome to go outside. It's gorgeous out, be with people. And so, if there are no more announcements, last chance? No? Okay, all right. Then we will light our chalice, our time-honored symbol of light and loving warmth in our community of faith. Thank you, Pal. This reading is called The Struggle for Freedom by Paul Sprechter. We light this chalice in memory of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who have struggled for justice, and the love of those who have built beloved communities to carry on the light of hope.
Good morning. I invite you to our call to worship. This is a poem called There is a Quiet Courage by Reverend Gretchen Haley. There is a quiet courage in the choice to let go of the past, in the choice to be present in this new day, to live for this hour, this moment, and to believe in its possibility, to release the regrets, to stop the spinning stories of what was and is no longer, to accept this gift, to believe that we are worthy, still of happiness, of ease, of delight and hope, to believe we have all we need to heal already, and to receive this wholeness with ready hearts and open hands, saying only thank you. Come, let us practice this surrender together, gathering up all the brave boldness we know that can be found in our bones and blood if we will breathe together, knowing ourselves a part of this one life filled with mystery, creativity, and power, changing us, growing us, and calling us into partnership with all that is. Come, let us worship together. Please stand in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, which is on page 6.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our joys are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday, we take some time to reflect on the special happenings that have happened this week amongst our members and friends. Some choose to share aloud, while others choose to remain silent, and here we make room for both. For those of you who would like to share aloud, please take a moment before we begin to center yourself and collect your thoughts so that what you share this morning is personal, heartfelt, and brief. Our YouTube channel and would like to share with those of us here, please chat in your joys, your concerns and joys, and indicate if you would like that read aloud here, and we'll drop this down for you. silently acknowledge your joys and sorrows remaining in your hearts. I invite you to come up to the altar and release a stone into the vase in silence while Aviva plays Voice Still and Small. And after she plays it through one time, you're all invited to join in singing this meditation song, and the words are printed in your order of service. We hold all these things within the heart of this community, both spoken and unspoken. By remaining silent for a moment, let us consider what has been shared and how we might respond. And let us close together with Amen and blessed be. Amen and blessed be. Now we get to sing the kids to class with a children's blessing. And this is located on the inside of the back cover of your great hymnal.
Good morning again. Thank you for inviting me back to speak with all of you. I really enjoyed my time here last time. We're just a lovely group of people. So thank you for having me back. Again, my name is Reverend Henley Levi Holder Brown. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and sometimes he, him. Today, I want to talk about the courage to become. And I would like to start with a poem by one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver. This one is called The Journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble, and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voice behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, and that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. A question my chaplain educator has asked me a few times when learning about who I am and how I provide care to people is, what is your becoming? How are you becoming who you are? I believe that this takes courage, a word that is defined by Webster's dictionary as mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. Or as I've heard it said before, courage is being afraid and doing it anyway. An example from the Jewish and Christian traditions of courage that I grew up with comes from the book of Joshua. And it goes like this: keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not told you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the divine will be with you wherever you go. So I'm sort of wrestling with what courage means for me now. So this is a very active process. I'm just delighted to be able to share with you where I'm at today. Courage, I believe, doesn't take away our fear, but it means we can be afraid and do something about what we're afraid of. The divine presence, God, the universe, the spirit, whatever works from within your tradition or traditions, this presence is with us wherever we go. For some of us, our own intuition is our guide. Our minds and our bodies are sources of knowledge and courage. Being able to rely on inner strength that you already have is courageous. I've personally never felt comfortable with the word courage when being described as bravery, maybe because I have struggled to identify with being brave or courageous, because for so much of my life I have been afraid. With good reason. My life up until recently has been filled with scary things. Not monsters in the dark scary, but my dad is abusive scary, or my church didn't protect me from homophobic and transphobic abuse, or from my Sunday school teacher. God or faith was scary too. God was presented as love, but also judge, jury, and sometimes executioner, but never there when I needed them to be. One could argue that it's courageous to survive those things. Maybe it is. Courage to survive against all odds. For today, though, I want to talk about another definition of courage that comes from Brene Brown. Brene Brown says this: the root of the word courage is cur, the Latin word for heart. In one of its earliest forms, the word courage had a very different definition than it does today. Courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling one's heart. Over time, this definition has changed, and today courage is more synonymous with being heroic. Heroics is important, and we certainly need heroes, but I think we've lost touch with the idea that speaking honestly and openly about who we are, about what we're feeling, and about our experiences, good and bad, is the definition of courage. I believe that true courage, this ability to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart, involves becoming. It means holding nothing back, going boldly straight to the heart of being who we really are, instead of hiding behind a facade. It turns out you don't have to be courageous in a superhero sense, although I do love superheroes, don't get me wrong. Often, the most courageous people I know are the ones living their ordinary lives day in and day out, but choosing to do so with raw vulnerability and authenticity. That's the kind of courage I want. the kind of courage to know thyself, which leads to also fully being or becoming oneself. In a few days on October 11th, many of our LGBTQ plus siblings and myself will celebrate and honor what we call National Coming Out Day, which has been around since 1988 on the anniversary of the National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights, as a reminder that one of our most basic tools is the power of coming out. Coming out, this colloquial term in the queer community, as an identity that previous people closest to us didn't know about. It's also synonymous with coming out of the closet. And I can't think of a more fitting description of what Brene Brown refers to as courage, to speak one's mind by telling one's heart. When I first realized that I was queer back in 2015, it was terrifying. I was still living with religiously conservative parents who I knew would not accept me for who I was. But slowly I began to realize that I needed to come out to myself, to accept and become who I was in order to set myself free from years of suppression and pain. I'll never forget that moment. My family and I were on vacation at the Outer Banks of North Carolina on Hatteras Island, and I needed to spend a lot of time with myself, just writing and staring at the ocean. My mom's family is from Hatteras Island. Her mom's family grew up there, and they're a combination of French-English immigrants who worked at the Chickamaucomico Life Saving Station, and also intermarried with people from the Roanoke Hatteras tribe. This land is sacred to so many of my ancestors. It is now sacred to me and a piece of my own becoming. Queer celebration is often one of both joy and resistance. Resistance against oppression that has often told us that we do not belong in certain spaces, especially churches and faith communities, because our love or our gender identity or our sexuality is seen as a curse instead of a gift that we can bring. On the morning of my wedding, I got up early to tell my now wife Amy goodbye as she went to run the Tar Heel 10 miler in Chapel Hill. While she was running, I went back to sleep for another hour and then got up because I needed to finish writing my vows for our wedding ceremony that would occur later that afternoon in our own backyard. We had rented chairs, purchased flowers, and even put together our own arbor from Lowe's as a sort of DIY wedding venue because we value simple and beautiful things. And because while we met at a church, we were not permitted to get married in the church sanctuary. When I look back at that day, almost 5 years later, I think it could not have gone any more perfectly. We had many of our chosen family there. A dear friend officiated the ceremony, and we got to celebrate with many friends at our reception, where there was a potluck meal, various types of alcohol, and dancing. You see, my wife and I know what it is to celebrate and be joyful. But most often, this is because as queer people of faith, we have known pain and rejection instead of celebration. So when we celebrate Pride, when we celebrate Coming Out Day, we're not celebrating it with arrogance. We're celebrating and resisting the things that have caused us death and harm. The first Pride was a protest, first and foremost. Before we could celebrate, we had to survive. We are often still trying to survive. The courage to become, I believe, also allows us to connect to other human beings and other than human beings. Courage to speak your heart requires having others to hear it. True courage lives in community. In the musical Dear Evan Hansen, there's this beautiful song called You Will Be Found. And the opening lines go like this. Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you could disappear, like you could fall and no one would hear? Let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. Because when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And someone will come running, and I know they'll take you home. Courage is all about being found, I believe, as well. Finding yourself, finding others who will receive your becoming and walk with you in it. I'm about 3 months into this thing they call chaplain residency at UNC Medical Center, and this is what my work is all about. We sit with people in some of their worst moments and allow them to be found and resource themselves so that they can find their own becoming. No one should ever be alone in this process. If you're not sure how to begin, invite others who can help you see you for who you are, because you are not alone. In a world where human beings so often use and oppress one another, let us remember how we are all connected to one another. The animals, the trees, the plants, the mushrooms, even the yeast in your sourdough bread, all the people on every continent. We belong to each other, and we are responsible for one another's liberation. May it be so. Amen.
Thank you. So let that sink in. At this time, each Sunday, we take up a monetary offering which goes to support our social justice work and our community. And this month, our plate goes to Orange County Justice United to help our community here in Orange County. So you may donate by putting cash or checks in the offering plate, or if you're writing a check, make sure you write plate in the memo. Or you can go to our website online and click the donate button, or some of you might want to use the QR code printed in the order of service. Thank you.
Gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone. Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Lead with love.
Lift up your eyes.
Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is there.
The path is there.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other.
One foot.
And
Lead with love.
you gotta put one foot in front of the other.
One foot
And
in front of the other.
one foot in front of the other.
One foot.
And
Lead with love.
I know you're scared.
I know that you're
And I'm
scared.
scared too.
And I'm scared too.
But here I
But here I
am.
am.
Right next to you.
Right next to you.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other.
One foot
And
front of the other.
one foot in front of the other.
One foot.
And
Lead with love.
you gotta put one foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other. One foot.
One foot.
One foot.
And
That was awesome. It's like listening to caffeine. For the love that surrounds us every morning. Please join us in our order of service. For the love that surrounds us every morning, for the friends beside us, and for the generous gifts just received, let us be truly grateful. And please stand and body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, This Little Light of Mine, number 118. Sorry. You can tell I didn't get that much sleep last night, right? I was in a 24-hour chaplaincy shift last night at Rex Hospital, so.
Thank you for being here, Linda.
Yeah, you're welcome. You are welcome. So closing words.
Alright, if you would hear these closing words, this is called Go Boldly by Jean M. Olson. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they will change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, the great novel, laying bare your words to love and hate. May you love even though your heart breaks again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage. Blessed be.
Now please join me as we extinguish our sacred UU chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, my friends, and blessed be. Blessed be.